I saw Joker yesterday. Obviously, one of the best movies I've ever seen, and top shelf. I hope it gets the Oscar. Had my brain buzzing for a couple of hours. It was everything I hoped it would be. I've been looking forward to this movie for months, ever since I found out they were in fact going to make it rated R. I was like, oh, they're going to take this seriously and not just try to sell figurines and lunchboxes. Cool, like some of the other Batman movies. And yeah, it addressed the social ills and issues that we're having today directly, and it was just so sweet. And so I see a lot of dots being connected in my head with this whole franchise and specifically this film that I'm not hearing reflected out there in any mainstream media or on YouTube. I did look up, several, maybe half a dozen of the most popular YouTube commentaries on the film, and while they were all good in their own way, none of them were connecting these dots. So I was motivated to get off my butt, make a video myself that connect these dots. So let's look at now, if you haven't seen the movie, don't watch this video because I'm going to give you spoilers like crazy, right? If you haven't seen spoiler alert, my description yet, here it is, spoiler alert. So go watch it and then watch this later if you want to. So the main character comes from, a mentally ill mother, and mental illness is as high as it's ever been. Go Google some stats on just how many women are on antidepressants or drink too much wine. For whatever reason, they're trying to escape feeling like shit. So there's a lot of that out there, especially in America, especially in the Western world. And the government does very little to stop because they make so much money and create government dependence, which government loves. No father in the home. Sound familiar? On 7 different medications? Okay, so we've got several issues right there. Because, see, the statists are out here going, oh yeah, this is a violent movie and it's going to cause men to commit random acts of violence against strangers because they're nihilistic and all that, right? That's all they're saying about it. They're not even wanting to address the issues inside of it that can serve as a warning. Like, look, you don't want that to happen? I don't want that to happen either. Then you need to take what's happening seriously and do something about it. Just living in your own sphere of influence, your own little bubble of only what affects you in your life personally, isn't going to cut it. Now, unfortunately, I would be saying this to stupid people because only stupid people, illogical and unethical people, support daddy government. And a symptom of being stupid is a complete inability to recognize one's own stupidity. So you're caught in this loop and you don't even know it. And when confronted with it, you don't even care because you have confirmation bias that kicks in and goes, you're not an idiot. It's just everyone else. So it's kind of funny making a video to those types, but that's what I'm attempting here. You've got mentally ill mothers being made into single mothers very easily because of a corrupt family and divorce court situation and incentives that you give them to divorce. A woman by nature, and there's nothing wrong with women, right? Like if a dog exhibits some behavior that you don't, well, you're calling women dogs. No, I'm not. If a dog exhibits behavior that is undesired, you don't blame the dog. Dog's just doing its nature, right? Now you obviously train it, but the dog's not the problem. The training is the problem if a dog's misbehaving, right? And that's the analogy I'm using. So no men in the home, single mothers, no fathers, video games everywhere. Now anything in moderation is just fine, but I've personally witnessed young men who are just on video games all the damn time. I mean, I paid $60 for a video game maybe 2 months ago. I doubt I've put 10 hours on it. I don't understand the addiction to video games, but I know it's real. Then you've got porn everywhere. So they don't get out and get social skills with other men and women, boys and girls, whatever. And they don't have a lot of experience dealing with the opposite sex when it comes to sex. You're flooding the market with psychotropic medications, these SSRIs. And you don't think this is going to bite you? Like we've seen a tiny portion of what's possible already with these gun shootings that were just happening, bang, 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 all over the place. Never mind every weekend in Chicago and other places, right? That's a tiny fraction of the potential that could go wrong. And still, nobody in the mainstream media, nobody out there is talking about meaningful change. Change like getting rid of divorce and family courts. If you can't support a child financially and you leave your husband, by the way, women leave men twice as often as men leave women in marriages with kids. If you can't support those kids, they go to the other parent, whichever parent can support them. No welfare, no child support. No, well, he makes $1 million a year, so I'm going to get 20,000, a month. No. You've got to end that. You've got to end that entirely. That whole financial incentive, it has to be ended. Now, women complain like crazy because they're not going to want that. I can already call it. Like, they're never going to do that. They're never going to be okay with that, and the government certainly isn't going to do that. So I've got my popcorn ready, man. I've got my 3D glasses on. I'm going to be in Central America watching this shit go down. I'm telling you, all of these things are in the movie Joker. And they're being ignored completely. Even among people who make YouTube videos about the movie Joker. All right. The medication, so the single dad isn't being involved. The putting them kids on medication, Adderall, always got ADHD. The feminization of men and trying to get them to behave more like women. You're going against nature. Okay? Now, this is all daddy government's plan. By design, it's going great. None of these measures would even be taking place without daddy government's support. See, because if you farm animals for profit and endless control and ego mechanisms going off left and right, it's a big cutthroat society of power at the top. You don't want your animals to be super smart. They'll figure out their animals being farmed, and they'll jump the fence and take off and not support you anymore, not work for you, not pay taxes to you, right? They won't let you milk them. So you've got to have humans, the animals that you farm, be a certain level of stupid, but not so stupid like they drown in their drinking water. So there's an optimal spectrum of intelligence you want your animals to have. If people get too smart, they start figuring out, oh, daddy government's the enemy, not each other. Let's do something about this. I'm going off on a tangent here. The bullying. My God, the bullying. I mean, I went through school before the internet came out. Like, the internet came out right as I graduated high school. So I didn't have to deal with any of that social media, and it was already hard enough. I mean, I was one of the lucky ones. I had it relatively easy. But man, I saw the hell that other kids were going through. When I was in the 7th grade, I was 12 years old, and a classmate of mine who I knew of, he just had this very unattractive face and size. And he was bullied so hard he shot himself in the heart, killed himself. We just come to class one day, hey, Patrick killed himself. You guys need any counselors? Like, what the fuck? I giggled at some of those jokes. Oops. The bullying in public school is insane. Add social media. I don't even know what that's like, but I can imagine. You got kids killing themselves because some kind of secret they've been holding on to comes out and it spreads like wildfire on Facebook. And those are just the obvious victims. For every obvious victim, how many non-obvious victims are there who just don't actually kill themselves but suffer horribly? PTSD-level trauma that lasts for life, that they may never get over. And you call it public school. Oh, it's good. We're educating. Are you? You're sending your kids to schools with psycho people. They're brats. Are interacting with your kid. And you're like, no problem here. Public school is evil to the core. Evil. I mean, if you're a young person, you're still in school, and by some miracle you're seeing this video, take control of your life. And get, like, Ron Paul has a great, with Tom Woods, created this whole online curriculum. K through 12, man. Like, get up on it. You do not have to put up with public schools. Go do some recreation activities afterward. Join jiu-jitsu, man. Get the anger out, right? Like, do hard stuff and get confidence. But don't go to public school. And to hell with what your parents say. They don't own you. You're not property. Like, I don't know if some young kids are actually watching this, but no one, even your parents are probably nuts. Okay, they're probably not doing parenting right. They've got their own stuff, and if they're super selfish, they only care about themselves. Because people say they love you, but they're only capable of the love they're capable of. Just because they say they love you doesn't mean it's love. They just feel in a way toward you that they call love. So my overall message is, nobody in this world is going to take care of you if you don't take care of yourself. Nobody. Mom, dad, brother, sister. You have to be the one to do it. And if I was a kid, I would get my ass out of public indoctrination camps and get online, hardcore. So let's recount. Crazy mom, single mom, no dad, by design, thanks daddy government. Psychotropic medications, more than one, and getting bullied. The Joker is just an iconic representation of this shit stew society is boiling. And like, people go through a lot worse than what the Joker went through in the movie, and they don't go crazy. But when you sprinkle in a genetic mental illness, and his, in part, could have come from the beatings of his mom's boyfriend when he was very, very young, being chained to a radiator and all. You can have people do what the Joker does. Now, let's talk about what the Joker did, okay? Because I only saw, not everything that he did that would be considered bad was actually bad to me. So, first time he does anything is he kills these 3 Wall Street types, right? Okay. First 2 deaths, that's straight up self-defense. That is textbook self-defense. There's no crime or murder committed there. All right, so I mean, the movie kind of takes place in the 80s, so before a lot of surveillance cameras and subway cars and internet stuff, but he was being beaten. All right, these people were acting like high school bullies, and they were beating him while he was on the ground, kicking him. He has a gun, bang, 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 and 2 of them are dead. I'm sorry, if you beat me and I have a gun, I'm going to kill you. And that's not murder. That's lethal self-defense, and it's totally justified. You cannot beat people and kick them and not think that, dude, if this guy's armed, now or later, you might just die for this. So those first 2 deaths were not murder, okay? And then he shoots the guy in the leg in his kind of first flurry. And then the guy hobbles off and tries to escape and tries to run, and he kind of runs him down and ends up shooting him in, point blank while the guy's on the ground. Now that could be considered murder by some. Not to me. Now, it's kind of a gray area, but look, when you're part of a 3-man gang that's beating one dude, you don't know that guy. You don't know what he's been through. You don't know what he's capable of. You don't know what he has to deal with. You don't know anything about the entire history of his life except that moment right there in front of him. So you're kicking this guy. You might just tip him over the edge into an insanity defense. It could be argued, if I was on the jury, I would let this guy go for all 3 of those deaths in the film. That you beat this guy, he thinks he might die, concussion, head trauma is real. He was already, he's got this condition where he laughs because of a brain injury from being beaten before. Like, all this goes into somebody's head, and then snap, and now they've killed 2 people, something they've never done before in their life, and now they want to hunt you down and kill you too. Like, to me, that's insanity defense right there. Like, you pushed and pushed and pushed this guy over the edge. You took a heinous risk by beating this guy, not knowing if he was armed or not. And you got what was coming. So at this point in the film, I'm like, didn't do anything wrong. Total self. You beat me, I will, even if you beat me, and that's it, and I lose for the day, I will come back and get you. Like, I would never let somebody still walk this earth if they had actually beaten me. And thank God I've never been beaten past the age of 14 by my dad. But I made up my mind right there, and thank God I've never been tested, because I know me, obviously, very, 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 very well. I know how I'm wired. I know how I react to things. That just wouldn't go well. So now let's move on to the talk show host, right? Where he kills talk show host. Now there, ugh, yeah, no, you can't get away with that. So yeah, that was obviously a huge overreaction, and yeah, I couldn't condone that. And then obviously the implication that he killed that staff member at the shrink hospital or whatever. Yeah, I can't condone that. After that point, he had clearly crossed over into madness and no longer cared about the line between murder and lethal self-defense. All right, but that's just how I see the effect of his crimes. Now, if the government-loving statists I'm somewhat talking to here don't get these types of clear messages from the various elements in this film, then they're totally missing out on. And I'm predicting that they are and will continue to not see the relevant issues that are going to bite them in the future. Then you're going to find yourself at some point in the future just helpless going, oh my gosh, why is this happening? Why is this happening? We need to take people's guns away. Like, or you could have made sweeping reforms to family and divorce court. You could have made sweeping reforms to how much you're divvying out psychotropic medications. You could have made sweeping reforms to how you deal out welfare, how you deal with the mentally ill, how you deal with people in prison, and if they even deserve to be in prison. You could have done all those things too, but now you're all crying to daddy government. Oh, woe is me. Violence everywhere, violence everywhere. What can we do? How can we see this happening? Another school shooting this week. Oh no. Well, take everybody's guns. Take everybody's guns. Not obviously realizing that bad people don't give a flying fuck about your laws about who should or should not have a gun. That's the most glaringly obvious thing to me, but why is it everywhere? I don't know. All right, so a few words about that little picture I have there in the corner. I saw that on a t-shirt store the other day, and that's where that's from. So the thing I want to mention about it really quickly is throughout the history of the Batman movie series, right, from what I think there was one in the 60s and then in 89 with Jack Nicholson, right? And from then on, I never understood why everybody cheered for Batman or why Batman was a legit superhero. First off, what douchebag lowers his voice down to this level to talk? I mean, that's just kind of silly to me. But his buddies are the people like the chief of police and prosecutors and politicians, like mayors. So no, Batman's a statist. So I was gonna buy this T-shirt, but they were out. And it's the Riddler, Joker, and Two-Face going, you can't sit with us. And in, wrapping all this up with this tie into Batman. So one of the last scenes in the movie is when Batman is with, he's a little boy. He's like 5 or 6. He's with his parents in the alleyway. That's when they get shot. And every time I had seen that scene before Joker, I thought, oh, how tragic. Oh, this kid's parents got murdered. But then I saw it from the ending of the Joker, and it obviously brought into question just how much of a tragedy or lack of that was. So, I don't care if somebody's rich. I don't care if he's rich and all this money is big company or whatever. But he was clearly a dick. Clearly a dick. I mean, he punched the Joker in the nose when the Joker thought he was his son, and that was just completely unnecessary. So he's just overly aggressive and, doesn't really care that he has a bunch of assholes working for him. They're, quote unquote, according to his time in front of the media cameras, part of his family, the company's family, right? So what this brings up, what I want to bring up is those two were basically assassinated. So the question arises, does assassination have any legitimate or justified function, big picture in society? Now, obviously in the short term, in that little tiny bubble of space and time, it looks like murder, like a sniper type killing, right? But that's not uncommon in today's world. Newsflash to anyone who's not aware. Like getting sniped, what do you think the whole drone program is? That's all assassination. And not just the guilty people either. So it's not a completely, I'm just out of my mind for suggesting that such a killing, let's talk about it if it could have ever been justified, and if so, to what degree, right? It's not just, oh, you're a jerk because you're not instantly condemning it as murder. Oh my gosh. My further point is assassination is kind of we've seen the damage it can do, i.e., World War One, right? The start of. But going forward, see, because if let's take Gotham City for instance, not real life, but you'll draw the comparison. If Gotham City is getting shittier and shittier and shittier for 99% of the people who live there, and better for the 1%, assassination can deal with that, right? Because 1% have cops, which means they have all the power. They have all the judges, they have all the jails, and so that's why it stays the way it does. If someone at the top were continuing to keep things this way because they were self-serving and screw the 99%, and that person got assassinated, they'd find a replacement. If that replacement got assassinated, they'd find another replacement. If and when that replacement gets assassinated, you get what I'm saying here? People are going to not want the job. And it'll be like, gee, why people keep assassinating this certain position? Why? Like that question, why, needs to be asked. Deserves to be discussed in public discourse. And such a thing is not even considered, not even thought, let alone asked today. It's just, oh, if you assassinate someone, you're a coward. We can do it with our drone programs, with our Marine Corps snipers, but nobody else. So you can't, we can, right? If someone at the top rules via lies and hypocrisy and great injustices against people who are actually not guilty of doing any wrongdoing whatsoever, is it justified? I can tell you if someone, let's say a chief of police had it out for me, right? And he was trying to set me up to get me put away in jail for a long time. And let's say I caught him in the act of trying to frame me or something like that, right? This guy's trying to get you thrown in a slammer for, like, let's say 10 to 20. And he's hell-bent on it. Now, this is a crazy hypothetical. It would be impossible to actually know all these things for a fact in the real-world situation. But I'm just saying, for the sake of conversation, that guy could get got, and to me, it would be justified. Like, you're threatening with a realistic threat to have somebody falsely thrown in a prison for 10 to 20, especially if it was like a federal max where you've really got to defend yourself or else you might just get raped, because male rape happens. Like, yeah, that guy's going to get caught. So just open up the topic, like assassination can at times be justified. Certainly it's not true that it could never, ever, ever under any circumstances be justified. I mean, you say, hey, what about assassinating Hitler? Can we assassinate Hitler? Oh, yeah, everybody. Oh, yeah, absolutely you could assassinate Hitler. Okay. But this other person, you say we can't. No, you can't. Okay, so clearly there's a shade of gray in between. Right. Okay, so now where is that line? Pol Pot? Yep. Mao? Yep. Stalin? Yep. Okay. What about Hugo Chavez? What about Justin Trudeau? What about Trump Jr.? Or not Trump Jr. Bush Jr. Like, if he's going to go into an illegal, unjustified war in Iraq over what a bunch of Saudis did while being sheltered in Afghanistan, what about that guy? Because he's going to cause horrific deaths and trauma to countless more, to both sides. And as we all know, the VA hospital doesn't give a shit about military veterans. People are going to be killing themselves, like, to the tune of 20 a day. I mean, just veterans as a whole from all wars. 20 a day. What about that guy? Can we assassinate that guy? What about Barack Obama with his drone program? I mean, they actually told me this when I was in the military. They're like, the guy who told it to me was a captain teaching at a university class while I was still in college. He goes, look, man, there's a formula they use. And if they have a certain target that has a high enough value on this target to have him killed, you put that into the equation. You also put in how much media exposure is going to be drawn because of this assassination. You put that into the equation. You put into the equation, what is the public's outcome or outcry or lack of going to be? How invested is the public, your public, going to care about this? That goes into the equation. And then what also goes into the equation is how many civilian innocent casualties are going to be killed in this strike. Women and children mainly, right? Like at weddings or just compounds or whatever. If they add all those figures up, they actually have this realistic formula. If they put everything into the formula, it's more than possible, obviously, that the outcome that comes out is hit it. Yep, our people aren't going to care too much. That guy deserves to die. We really need him out. And nobody gives a shit about 10 or 20 Afghan civilians. The public. We're not going to face any political pressure because of this, so drop the bomb. There's even a documentary on Netflix about UAV pilots. You know, the Predators and the other name that I can't remember right now. The drones. They're sitting playing a video game in Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, killing people on the other side of the world, and they're getting PTSD. Like they're playing a video game. It's the exact same as a simulator. So again, when is assassination justified? Now, in this movie, just to wrap up, we saw some killings that clearly were justified and some killings that clearly weren't justified. So it brings up the conversation: where's the line, and does it apply today? I mean, what horrible thing does the government have to do to your life to change your mind from assassination is, especially when we're talking about government or government officials, is never justified versus a little bit justified? What if you get thrown in prison under false charges, no evidence, no due process, and you're stuck in jail for life? And horrible things happen to you while you're in jail, and you come out a different person. Like, if you ever come out, if that happened to you, would you be against government? Or would you still be like, oh, no one should ever assassinate any member of the government? Because it's not a matter of if, and not by me, let me be clear. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. You can't have technology evolving into remote-controlled vehicles and remote-controlled, therefore, cars, pilotless cars, driven through cameras, packed full of Timothy McVeighness. And now the government can't catch these people. And obviously they get exposed as someone who cannot protect you. I mean, that's blatantly obvious to anyone with half a brain that the police are never there in the heat of the emergency to protect you. But is assassination ever justified? So, again, to wrap up, this movie brings up all of these questions, these elements like, what can we do so that people don't get treated like shit? What sweeping, even maybe painful reforms can we make to lessen the number of people who get exposed to such heinous levels of trauma that you and I can't even imagine, that when you sprinkle in a little bit of mental illness, they go absolutely crazy and innocent people die, especially at public schools, right? I went over a bunch of proposed solutions. I'm not just here complaining, but yeah, these are just kind of dots I wanted to see connected that I'm not hearing any, obviously nowhere in mainstream media, and not even in the YouTube videos I watched that were doing commentaries about the film. That's it. Hope you enjoyed. Later.